and ain't no wannabes here. With some not so nice advice for your writing career. To be clear, no punches will be pulled, but the punch may be spiked. How they like before they get on the mic. To my left, we got the mighty Mur Lafferty. And if I piss her off, believe me, she'll come after me. And her co-host, Matt Evan Wallace, on the right. Yes, she may be half as hype as she can take him in a fight. So settle in, folks, buckle in and boot up. Time to meddle in a way to make your writer shut up. It's hard work, but the perk is that it's fun and exciting. Facebook will still be there when you're done writing. Ditch Diggers! Ditch Diggers!
Coming to you live from Jodie Foster's Hurricane Florence Relief Center, it is the Ditch Diggers with Mur Lafferty. I'm sorry. It is the Hugo-winning podcast, the Ditch Diggers with Mur Lafferty and Matt Wallace. We haven't talked to you in a while. How are you, Matt?
I'm good now, but yeah, it's almost like that post-Oscar curse thing, Murray. You know, where, like you win, and then the director will win an Oscar and then not make a movie for the next 10 years. Like we won a Hugo and then didn't release an episode for a month.
Yeah, and it sounded like more because we didn't release the July episode until last week.
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
We didn't record an episode in a month. But yeah, we also hadn't released an episode. Oh, well, now I feel even
a lot more.
So it's been a minute, folks, and we apologize for that. But this episode is literally going to be us explaining why it took so long to record this new episode and get the new ones out, and lessons and business of writing lessons that can be imparted from those experiences. So
boy, howdy,
it will all have been worth it.
Yes. Well, the last you heard from us, it was the live show at the Worldcon, which was a lot of fun, and we had Margaret Dunlap and K.M. Spera on, and we did Choose Your Own Writing Career, and that was a lot of fun. And then later that weekend, we won a fucking Hugo.
We did. That was a hell of a weekend. It was kind of a whirlwind, because I wasn't there for the whole con. Nikki and I came in like Saturday morning and left Monday morning, so it was very, very whirlwind, which was appropriate for what happened, I feel like. But yeah. No, Ditch Diggers Live, I thought that was a great time. We had a great turnout. Margaret and Kellen were fantastic. And then we got all gussied up.
Gussied.
We gussied to the max. My wife, Nikki, was there, and she was a one-woman salon. Just doing everybody's hair and makeup, including yours. And you look fantastic.
Thank you.
Alistair Stewart wore a kilt. That doesn't really have anything to do with us, but I love Al, and he's adorable when he dons his kilt.
Yeah, he rocked that kilt.
And I vlogged the whole thing, by the way. If you haven't seen that, you can go to my YouTube channel, Angry Writer, and I vlogged the pre-party, and I got our acceptance speeches when we won the Hugo, and I got the whole thing. So if you'd like to check that out, maybe we can put a link in the show notes to that since it's relevant.
Okay.
But yeah, we did. We won a Hugo, and we went up, and we accepted the Hugo, and it weighed approximately 9 million pounds because they did it out of cast iron this year. It was a really good base this year.
It was gorgeous. I was so happy. Yeah. I was so happy. It's just absolutely gorgeous.
Too. My wife kept talking about what a good year it was for us to win because the base was so cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a trippy experience. As someone who has been aware of the Hugo Awards since they were like 10 or 11, and grew up, hardwired to perceive them as a big deal. To be up there winning one was really trippy, man. And to be winning for this show, I said it when we were up there. I really hope people understand how sincerely I meant it. It really meant a lot to me to win it for this show because I believe in what we do here, and I take a lot of pride in what we do. So
yeah,
that was really cool.
Me too.
How was your experience, Mur? How was your Hugo winning experience?
It was pretty amazing. I was up for 3.
You were.
To be completely honest, I thought I had the best chance with Ditch Diggers. I thought we might have a chance, but probably not with the semi-prozine. And I know I didn't have a chance in novel at all.
Nora and Kate Jemison was never not going to win that. And frankly, I wouldn't want to be the one who broke that streak.
No.
I wouldn't feel good about that at all. So
You lie, you motherfucker. You would feel great about it. You might feel a little weird about it, but you would feel great about it because you would have won the Best Novel Hugo. I'm not saying that I would have felt bad about beating her, but I knew I had no chance, and so I don't feel bad about not beating her.
Well, no, you shouldn't feel bad about not being. I'm just saying, like, I would have had a period there where I was like, why did it have to be this year? I still would have displayed the trophy. I'm not saying I wouldn't. But, it was just, that was a thing that I'm glad happened. That's very conflicting for me because I was rooting for you. I can't not root for you. You are one of my best friends in the world and my co-host here. So, but at the same time, you wanted to see Nora up there making history, and her speech was amazing.
And turning a Hugo into a middle finger. Which
is epic and will live in infamy forever and should. So that was very conflicting for me emotionally. I like how I'm making this about me now when it was you who was up the award.
Mm-hmm.
But still, it was, I think all things worked out, well in the end. Because you still got your Hugo Award.
I did.
And I got to win one too. So it's all about me.
And we got to go to the losers party anyway and be mocked.
And wear funny hats. You got a cool hat.
That is such a weird story. So the Hugo Losers Party is for the losers, and if a winner shows up, they have to be shamed.
Right.
And this year, the party's always thrown by next year's Worldcon bid people. So this was thrown by the Irish bid. So they had a whole bunch of stuff that you would normally buy for St. Patrick's Day. So they had glittery hats, glittery green hats. They had green and orange boas that Matt got. And I forget. That might have been the only two things. And I was told numerous times that I was not nearly shamed enough.
You weren't at all, dude. You had this glittery green bowler hat. You look like Columbia from Rocky Horror Picture Show. And I look like a clown. I'm wearing this pom-pom on my head.
It wasn't my fault. I took the thing that they gave me.
I'm just saying.
And so finally, I just went back to the door and I said, look, I'm getting complaints that I am not shamed enough. I need to get rid of this hat and get something properly shameful. And they're like, well, we've got this bag. And they pull out this bag of hats. And these are the hats that I've seen at previous losers' parties. There was a cone head that I remember Wes Chu wore the year he won, the Campbell. And there was a chicken. And I wanted the chicken, so I took the chicken, and I went back to the party. And then everyone's asking me, like, how did you get the cool, appropriately shameful hat? And I'm just like, I asked.
So there's really nothing you could do. Like, even when you try to change hats, they still accuse you of getting the good one.
Well, these are the winners that are complaining that I got the good, shameful hat. Right. So it that was weird, but it was a great night.
It was a good party. It's always a good party.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was. Our lives are strange, Mur, in a wonderful way. But into each life, Mur, a little rain must fall, and I think we got to talk about what happened after the Hugo Awards.
Well, the thing that I've told people when I won the Campbell and when I lost the Campbell and when I won the Hugo or lost the Hugo, that was not chronologically correct, but all those three things have happened before this year, is that whether you win or lose, the next day you got to go back to work. Yeah. The day after is going to be the same. Your shelf might have something pretty on it. Your email might be a little fuller if you win. But regardless, you still got to go to work. And when we came home, we had to do work stuff. So why don't you tell about your work stuff that you've been going through in the past several weeks?
I will do that, Murray. Yeah, it was. It's very interesting because. I need to preface it before I tell that part. So, literally, 2 weeks, after we got back from Worldcon, I found out that I had lost my job. And if you've been listening and you've been following my vlog this year, you know that in January I accepted a full-time position as a content developer and writer for an ICO marketing firm, big fancy international agency. and it was a really good. I was actually really enjoying it. It was a really good job. I was, still writing for a living. Just happened to be doing it for these various technology companies who were doing really cool things with blockchain and cryptocurrency, and was getting to work remotely from home. It was just a really good situation. It was a really good job with a really good team of people, and I was enjoying it. And it was the end was sudden, but when I really think about it, the writing was on the wall. I just didn't want to believe it.
You knew.
I knew.
You were talking like you knew it was coming. You didn't want. Nobody wants to know it's coming, but you're like, I see something in front of me, and I think it's a truck. Not sure, but I think the truck's coming.
No, you're absolutely right. The thing is, I've been doing this long enough to know that. I just was really, really hoping that they'd pull out of it. They'd pull out of the nosedive, because I just really, again, like, it was a really good job for me. It was a really good situation. But no, like a couple months before that, payroll had been late a few times, which is never a good sign.
No.
Like that's a really bad one. When payroll is late and they don't have a backup and they don't have a surplus, like, you should be concerned. And then they straightened it out and fixed it and everything. But then they announced that our budget was being cut back, which was, again, another really bad sign. The dog knows.
Yep, she knows. And she feels for you.
I'm doing like a spoken word blues song. But anyway, yeah. So all that happened, and I was really hoping that we were pressing on. We onboarded a big fancy new client. We were doing exactly what we've been doing all year, and then our boss, our CEO, announced that the company that owned us, because of liquidity issues, they couldn't afford to fund our operation anymore. So that was kind of just in 1 week, within the span of a week, it was the end of our office. So that was a blow, and it was very disappointing for me personally, because I put a lot of that job this year. Remember, like, I told myself I was not going to get emotionally attached to this gig or the work I was doing. Like, it was just supposed to be a supplemental thing I did while I was working on transitioning full-time to doing books and doing screenplays and stuff. But, I ended up getting into it, man. I enjoyed being good at it. And I was, not a braggy way, more in a, like, surprised at myself kind of way. I was really good at it. I did a really good job. Like, my boss was really happy. The clients were really happy. I was creating really good work. We had a great design department that I worked with. We made some really cool stuff, and it really sucks to, like, do your best and have it, kind of not matter in the final outcome of things.
Yeah.
So that really sucked. It just sucked to realize I had become a kind of emotionally attached. And I liked telling people I was a senior content developer for a international marketing firm. It was nice, and my wife got to say that to people, and I got to feel the ego stroke from it. It was cool. So the whole thing was a lot better than I ever perceived it to be when I was looking for a full-time gig. And then it was over, and it was very sad. And I had a few weeks there where I was, like, alternating between, like, depression and panic and rage and frantic, searching around for something else. And I've calmed down now, and I've kind of, like, processed it and accepted it. But it was just, to have a job 1 week and then the next week have nothing on that front it was very jarring. So it took a minute to kind of process and recover from. So that was kind of the big thing that happened with me, and I was preoccupied with that, and that was one of the reasons that the show was neglected for so long on my end. And then in addition to that, like, I didn't even get to enjoy being unemployed. I didn't even get to enjoy, like, oh well, I have a free day or a free week to myself now, because I still have all the other shit that I had going on before that I had to do. I have a novel, the second draft of which is due to the publisher that I signed with in like a week, and I had a new novel that I was finishing and a pilot script that I was working on, and this podcast was still in the back of my mind, and my vlog that I have to do every week, and so, like, I didn't even get to enjoy that, like, sudden I'm unemployed, so I have all this free time. I'll sleep till 11. Kind of thing, which was another thing that pissed me off. I was saying that to you before the show started. Like, one of my main problems was over the past few weeks, I'd accept a shitty thing that had happened, but then I'd start thinking about it from another angle, and then I would get pissed off all over again about that. And I just kept alternating between things about the situation that upset me. So,
yeah.
What else did I want to say about that? Oh, the other thing I did want to say about that, and one of the reasons I'm okay now and I've come to kind of a better place was I made a video about it for the vlog last week or the week before. I don't really remember now.
I think it was last week.
I think it may have been last week. Yeah, I made a video before about the blog where I explained what happened to everybody and I explained what had been going on and I kind of like explained how I was feeling about it and. The response was really surprising in a very cool way, man. Like so many people reached out, first and foremost to like say sorry that happened and give me support or whatever, but which is amazing. I'm not in any way diminishing that part was fantastic, but so many people reached out just trying to offer whatever help they could, like hooking me up with whoever they knew or letting me know, hey, I heard about this opportunity or this and that. And I actually, one of our listeners, who owns a small press operation, offered me some part-time work marketing for them. And an old friend of mine reached out because he'd heard about it. He's been freelancing for a technical writing company, and he offered me some work with them. And so that whole thing just really, in the last week, all that outpouring was really, really overwhelming in like the most positive way. And I can't thank everybody enough for that. I'm never, what I mean, I'm not much on like community, or like being part of something because I feel like. You get enough people together, that toxicity level rises really quickly, and before you know, you have like matching hats and a fight song and a list of people you're going to visit at 3 a.m. I just don't want to be a part of that. But but that aside, and that has its validity, I really have to thank the community of people around the show and around my writing and around just our kind of circle of people who stepped up to do what they could to help me, just to try to help me. It was an amazing thing, and I appreciate it. So that was very cool. So that is more or less what's been going on with me, Murray. And we could talk a little. I'll talk a little more about like lessons to be learned and things we can impart in the context of the show a little later. But you had when I said a little rain must fall in every life, I meant that literally for you, and you should talk about that.
Well, see, the thing with me is that since coming back from Worldcon, it's been a number of very intense things in a short amount of time. Some of them are very good. Some of them were bad. But I was reminded time and again that good stress is still stress. It's like your wedding day is going to be one of the most stressful days of your life. It's going to be one of the best, hopefully, but it's also going to be one of the most stressful. It was like that. So I had a book due and, did Worldcon, did family vacation, had to come back and immediately, bam, go straight into finishing the book. And this is another book that hasn't been announced yet, so I can't say anything about it. And then right after I turned that in, Solo came out. And so I was doing promotion, interviews, keeping track of what people were saying on Twitter, etc. about that.
Because once again, that is Solo, the Star Wars movie novelization.
Yes, the novelization. And people really like it.
Because it's good, dude. It's really good.
Yes, I know it's good, but the fact that the movie did not do as well as they had anticipated, and the fact that I'm a woman, and the fact that it's Star Wars, I expected someone to shit on it. And if they have, I haven't seen it, and I don't want to see it. I'm not asking you guys to go scouring the web for me. My daughter has said that the worst thing she's read about it is one of the bad things that happened in the movie, I still had to make happen. And I'm like, yeah, couldn't change the plot that much. So, yes. But I mean, people have said really amazing things about it, which is just so gratifying. And then after Solo came out, we do a yearly summit meeting for the Bookburners Project, where they bring us all together in one place and we talk about the project for 3 days and we discuss the next season's work. And I, because of everything else going on, I told them I couldn't travel again. It would just, that stress would just make me explode. So I didn't have to travel, but I did have to Skype in and, be present and pay attention for several hours that weekend. And then after that, a hurricane was coming. And, hurricanes are very strange because while there's not a whole lot you can do to prepare for them unless you're like in active evacuation mode, you're just watching the news as something creeps toward you. And it's still creeping, but you know it's going to hit you. And you probably should go off and do the things you need to do, but you want to check the news and see if that creeping thing is still creeping toward you. And then somebody posted a picture on Twitter of Keanu Reeves doing the bullet time thing from The Matrix, and then showing the path of Hurricane Florence, where it literally dodged around my area of the state. It like hit the coast, and then went south, and then it went west, and then it went north, completely bypassing Raleigh-Durham. And so we got wind and rain. And Monday we got the tail end of it as it kind of looped back around to go north, and we got some flooding. But it was nothing compared to the devastation in the southeast of the state. Yeah. So yeah, even though we were okay, we didn't lose power, it was still just like it's a major distraction watching the rest of your state drown. And
oh no, absolutely.
Weird survivor's guilt there. And then, my daughter and I were out during a hurricane warning. And if you don't, not hurricane, I keep saying that, a tornado warning. And if you don't know the jargon, tornado watch means the weather is favorable for creating a funnel cloud. A tornado warning means someone saw a tornado. Get inside. And so we were out in this terrible storm, and then when we got to the appointment, that's when the hurricane... damn it, I keep doing that. Tornado warning hit, and we found out that Duke University has a tornado siren. So that started going off, and that was exciting. And so yeah, we got to have our own little hurricane. Like
tornado.
No, actually, I mean hurricane. Our own little hurricane experience Monday morning. And then it was over.
You were like living in the movie Twister, but like Bill Paxton wasn't there to help out.
Yeah, exactly.
And now he's not here to help out anyone. Oh, I just made myself sad.
Well done. And so on the professional side, I got the book turned in, got the outline for the Book Burners episode done, and then sitting back trying to catch my breath. And in sitting back trying to catch my breath is when I started actually catching up on all the podcasts I released. I should be writing number 400, and finally got the last 2 Ditch Diggers edited and uploaded, and by the time you hear this, you will have heard both of those. So I'm just now, a month later, getting back to podcasting work. And it's kind of scary wondering where the past month went. Even though I know where it went, it just seemed to go really fast.
No, I don't think anybody can blame. I mean, first of all, to focus on the positive, like, dude, congratulations on Solo, and congratulations on your 400th episode of I Should Be Writing.
Thank you.
I can't, conceive of a lot of podcasts that have gone on as long as that one has, with the longevity and success it's had. There would be no Ditch Diggers if there were no I Should Be Writing.
That's right.
So that's an amazing thing. I'm glad that neither hurricane nor tornado touched you guys. I'm happy about that. I am very sorry about the devastation that the hurricane has caused, and I think absolutely we should have some links to relief with this episode. So, folks, if you want to help out people who were affected, though Mur was not, other people took the brunt of it, go look for those links in the show notes and throw a couple bucks to help them out if you can. Every little bit honestly does help. So we'll do that for sure. But yeah, man, I hear what you're saying about the time, and but I don't know. I actually feel a little better because I understand where the time has gone lately. I hate it when I don't know where the time has gone, like when I don't understand how it's passed so fast. But I get what's been going on. When I was starting my bit at the beginning there, the thing I was going to say was I look at my YouTube channel, and it's like stacked one on top of the other is a video titled, I won a Hugo Award, in all caps with exclamation marks. And then the one on top of that is, I lost my job, with a sad face emoji.
No.
So it's like, it's been like, that's where the time has gone. It's gone between joy, disaster.
Yeah.
Joy, disaster. And you've had, I would argue, more shit going on than me. So
Yeah, but yours is more punchy.
Well, I can make anything punchy. That's my gift. But and
That's
you've got
true.
a bunch of stuff. You've got a bunch of stuff going on we can't even talk about yet. So
Yes, I do. That's interesting and distracting as well.
Exactly. So that's what I'm saying. So, and it's about freaking time. I don't mind saying. So I think ultimately we have to say though, more like seriously, and I'm not being glib here, and again, in no way dismissing the bad things that have happened. Just hearing us both recount the past 6 weeks or so, I honestly do think the good has outweighed the bad for both of us.
Oh yeah.
That's
totally.
No, but I mean that's important for me to remember because I've been mired a lot in the negative, and I've let myself be mired in the negative, and I really need to step back and realize it's not that way at all. Like things are good and could be so much more mind-blowingly worse that I should be grateful for all the good that we have.
Yeah, but I this is what I should be writing 400 was about, so I'm not going to go into too much detail because some people might have already heard this, but I did have an epiphany recently where I realized that all of those internet memes with the sunset and the happy little statement about believing in yourself and happiness comes from within and all that bullshit, it's actually true because I had a day, and granted, like everything I said had happened, good or bad, was stressful. So I've been under a great deal of stress recently. And I was having a day where I felt like shit. I felt like a hack. I felt major imposter syndrome. I felt like I'd never write anything good again. I felt awful. And I tried to stand outside myself and go, 6 Weeks did amazingly well last year. You got a Hugo Award for your podcast. Other things are going on that are awesome. You wrote a Star Wars novelization. And knowing all of that is true did not make me feel better. And that's when I realized that there's so many times in our career where we think, if I get this next thing, then I'll be happy.
Yeah.
If I get that, I'm going to be a sad wannabe writer until I get my first book deal, and then I'll be happy. That's not necessarily true. And so I realized that, that I really have to work on my own internal life, and that'll make me deal with the downs and enjoy the ups a little bit better, I think, because it's the happiness comes from within. I feel like such an asshole saying that because I feel like I want to make my voice a little softer and then cut to commercial. But it does.
No, it absolutely does. You're not wrong. And I am feeling what you're saying right now, Marley, sincerely. I've been in the exact same place. So that is such a good and important point that you were making, and I cannot even express it in words. I tweeted about this a while. I think it probably was last week or whatever, but I had a night where I really just wanted to shit can all this stuff. Mm-hmm. Like all the creative stuff. I really did. I got into this headspace of like, I have a 6-figure book deal with a major publisher for this new trilogy, and it's somehow still not good enough. Like that was the headspace I got into because like I lost a job and I need to find another job because I need security because I have a house and a wife and a family and all this shit that needs to be taken care of. And I just, for so long, that was the dream. The dream was, man, one day I'll have this big deal with a publisher to do my stuff. That's like the dream. That's the goal. And when I get there, then I will have arrived and like everything will be peaches and cream and, Cheerios and happy letters. And so I'm just sitting there thinking, I've got this thing and I'm working on this book. And like, why isn't this enough? Why isn't this enough to satisfy me and everybody else? And everybody else was hypothetical. No one was saying the book deal wasn't enough. That was coming from me.
Sure.
But it just, having that single thought was enough to get me into such a depression. I was just like, why the fuck even bother? If this isn't going to be enough, nothing will ever be enough. Like, why even pursue all this crap? And like, I had the same moment that you did of realizing, like, I'm creating all this in my head, and like that idea that attaching all of your happiness to this one thing, and if I get this one thing, that'll be, the magic rod that makes everything okay. Like that just doesn't exist,
Yeah.
It's really not. It literally does come from you, and from just like again to employ another cliche, a life well lived. You know, it's got to be the whole package.
Yeah.
And obviously I got over that funk. Like it was just one really depressing night. But like I said at the time, it's scary how easy it is to go to that place. And I think it's easy because of what you said. It's like making this one thing the ideal of what happiness is, and when it doesn't live up to it, it's really easy because of how you built it up to like feel everything crashing down, even though it's not. So I think it's a really salient point, Mert. I'm really glad you brought that up and talked about that, because I think it's important for everybody out there to know. It's not about the one mountain that you climb. There's never one mountain that you climb that will fix everything. Even if it's Everest, I would argue that everybody who's climbed Mount Everest successfully, you know, they still came home and they still felt depressed.
Yeah.
Probably over all the dead Sherpas.
They probably should have felt depressed by all the trash they're leaving on Everest.
Is that a problem?
I hear, yeah, I think so. There's a litter problem.
See, we had a guy come and talk to us in like fourth grade who had climbed Mount Everest.
Mm-hmm.
And I wish I'd known that back then, because I would have liked to have been the asshole kid who wouldn't stop talking about that.
How much shit did you leave on Everest, sir?
That's just funny. Yeah. So anyway, yeah, that's a good lesson. We're dropping knowledge here, Mer. It was worth the wait, wasn't it, people? So anything else you wanted to recount from our absence, Mer? Was there anything else that we meant to bring up that we didn't?
Yeah, one more thing. My agent's shopping a book around for me, and she asked me one weekend to think about my career goals.
Oh, shit.
And I thought, I don't have any. Because, see, the thing is, again, when you haven't published anything, the goals are get a book deal, get a award nomination, or, you know, get a book in this licensed property that you would die to kill to write in. And it's like, I've already achieved a lot that I would have said were a goal, you know, even 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And nobody tells you how to make goals when you've already achieved some stuff. It's like, how do you look beyond that? How do I say what's next beyond, I want another book deal? If Lucasfilm wants to give me another book, cool. You know,
you just want to keep going. That's really
exactly. But it's like, yeah. So I was struggling with that, and I tried to Google advice, because there's just so many fucking self-help productivity blogs out there, but they're all like, how to accomplish your goals. Usually step 1 or step 2 is write down your goals. I'm like, no, motherfucker, I need to get to step 1. How do I get there?
Step 3, profit.
Yeah, exactly. And so I struggled with that a lot. And finally, when I talked to my agent, I'm like, what do you mean? What are goals when you're at the point in your career that I am? And she's like, well, think about when you're dead, what you want people to write about your career. And that helped a little bit. I think I'm in a strange position where when I was a kid, being a writer was a big dream. Mm-hmm. I finally found a piece of paper. Okay. And it wasn't even anything I imagined could happen. It was like it was a dream I didn't even think I could work toward, because it was so far out of reach.
Right.
And it wasn't until I was an adult that I realized, oh, I could do this. And now I'm realizing there's more stuff like that I think is too far out of reach. So I don't even think to dream about it, because it's you know, it's up there like dreaming I had a unicorn. I don't really dream I have a unicorn anymore. Maybe I should dream I could get a unicorn, and then I'll dream about the other stuff. But a lot of it's like you know, writing scripts, or doing more experimental stuff that I did back when no one cared about what I wrote.
Right.
So, yeah, I've been working on my goals and trying to figure out whether, no matter how big a dream is, if I could actually achieve it or not. Because I mean,
so have you successfully come up with new goals, or are you still in the process of parsing all that?
I'm still in the process.
Right.
Like I said, a lot of other stuff's been going on, so I've been distracted.
Oh no, I don't blame you. I just was curious.
Right, but I remembered I was telling you about it as my agent was telling me to think about it, and so
Right.
I wanted to bring it up. It was a weird thing realizing I didn't have goals because I'd already achieved a whole bunch of ones that I hadn't even written down, and then where do I go from here? Where do I aim to go from here instead of just keep driving down this one highway kind of metaphor?
Right. No, it's dude, it's such a wacky profession because it does start out, I think, for everyone as the dream of becoming a rock star, becoming a movie star.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I'll become a published author. And then if you succeed at it, it becomes a business, it becomes a job. And no one tells you how to transition from a childhood dream to an everyday profession,
Mm-hmm.
I think that's one of the reasons we do this, is because, that's such an ambiguous thing.
You mean this podcast?
Yeah, why we do this podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because, everybody talks about the dreams and the realizing those dreams, but nobody talks about what to do when you get there and it's a grind, and how do you make a 5-year plan out of your childhood dream job, But it's important. I think it's good that your agent asked those questions. What's really trippy is, for me, I actually have a pretty solid plan and a really solid idea what my goals are right now. But I mean, in fairness, I spent a whole year last year figuring that shit out. I had a whole year where things were going poorly.
Yeah.
Where all I did was think about what are my goals and my ambitions and what am I trying to accomplish. So I had, I've done the work. Nobody surprised me with that question. I was able to just rattle it off. The trippy thing is, man, getting this job this year, in a weird way, and not getting the job, but you're sort of getting the job. Getting the job and losing the job sort of threw all that off for me for a second, in a weird way. And I'm starting to realize it's because when I took the job, I saw it as a supplemental means. It was one part of a multi-part plan to get to the next stage of my writing career. But somewhere along the way, I started to kind of get used to the idea that what if this is all I ever do, and not in a what if this is what I don't want to say all I ever do, because that minimizes it or diminishes it or whatever. But the idea that I have this really good marketing job that pays me well, that I actually enjoy doing the work and it's a good situation, and then I write a book or two every year and I do okay with that. What if that's my career from now on? And I was actually kind of okay with that. I was getting into the headspace where I was like, that could be an okay thing. I wouldn't mind that so much. And then losing the job, threw that idea, off the horse or whatever. So because I hadn't backtracked on the goals I had established last year for my writing career. I was still working on that stuff, but in the back of my brain was this other thing of I could just do this and that would be okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then that kind of got eliminated, and so I had to regroup. I don't know. I don't really have a point with this. That was what I was thinking about when you were talking about the goals thing. It was even when you have a clearly defined set of goals, the journey is always going to throw, that saying, a plan is just a list of things that don't happen.
Yeah.
It's like that. It's even when you have, to come at it from another angle, I guess, even when you have a really defined set of goals, the reality of pursuing them is going to throw shit in your way that you weren't expecting, good and bad things.
Yeah.
And you're going to have to adjust for them, and that can radically change what you're doing, or it can radically alter your perception of what you're doing. And I don't have a big finish or conclusion to that. I'm just kind of sharing because I'm right in the middle. Because the thing is, I'm still right in the middle of it. That's the part I haven't figured out yet. I literally just lost this job, so I'm thinking about all that stuff. I'm thinking about everything that I'm going back to that I was working on before. I'm still figuring out for myself. But just speaking of professional goals, that's kind of where I'm at right now. It's I had a very defined plan, and then I started perceiving that plan differently, and then that perception got fucked up, and now I'm kind of going back to the original plan. And again, we'll see how it works out, but that's just, so I don't know. I just wanted to throw that out there. I hope there was some value in that, and it was just as inane rambling as it sounded. to me.
Yeah, I was actually gonna ask you if I could have your goals since you already had, if I could crib off your goals.
No, because I need my goals again. If you'd asked me 3 weeks ago when I was gainfully employed as a marketing writer, I would have absolutely been like, yeah, take my goals. I can do without them for a while. But no, I need them now, Mara. I have nothing else.
Damn it.
I have nothing else but my goals. Nah, man, my diamond shoes are too tight. That's really what all this comes down to. I'm really complaining over nothing. But it's everybody's situation is different. So are we?
True.
Should we do questions, Mara? I've completely lost track of time.
Yeah, let's do questions. Well, I threw us off like 10 minutes ago talking about goals, so.
Well, no, that was part of the whole thing. It's like we were talking about what we've been doing and how that's been affecting us, and that was a perfectly good tangent to go on.
All right.
I will go to the Twitters for the questions. This is from. See, I never know whether to read the Twitter display name or the actual Twitter name, or when I attribute these questions.
Say the Twitter name because they're talking to us on Twitter.
I hear you, but they're both Twitter names. It's like the Twitter handle or the display name in front of the handle. I'll do the Twitter handle. So
you
Zachary
could do
Jeffroy,
both.
I could do both. Zachary Jeffroy. See, this is why I should have just done. So the display name is Z should be edited right now. See, that's much easier. And Z should be editing right now. Thank you to everybody who used the hashtag Ditch Diggers to ask questions. I appreciate that. It makes it much easier for me. Could you talk about the timeline when signing an agent for the first time? I've heard about authors as references, exclusivity, and even asking for a few weeks to reach out to dream agents last minute. What can be expected at such a crucial time? Thanks, congrats. Pig face emoji, chain emoji. I don't know what that's about, but that's a good question.
Team Hemshackle.
Oh, it's Team Hamshackle. Oh, fuck you, dude. That's from my vlog. Hamshackle Pig is the mascot of my vlog that I do.
Yeah.
And I'm in a Ditch Digger's headspace. I'm like, what the hell does that have to do with anything? He did Hamshackle emojis. Thank you, Zachary. That just made my whole day. And thank you, Murph, for being there to interpret that. Because apparently, I'm a moron. It is. It's literally Hamshackle.
Yeah.
That's great. So anyway, Zachary is asking about the timeline when signing an agent for the first time, and then he heard about all this different stuff that can happen.
I'm unclear what the question is.
Okay, well, I said a lot of shit after it. So could you talk about the timeline when signing an agent for the first time? I've heard about authors as references.
Okay, I get it.
Comma, exclusivity, comma, and even asking for a few weeks to reach out to dream agents last minute. What can be expected at such a crucial time?
Both Matt and I have had not common agent stories. I'm not going to tell Matt's, I just know it. But it's hard to say because all the rules you hear are like very specific regarding how to query and then how to decide and everything. And mine came from chatting with somebody at a convention. If you're not doing conventions, and I understand there's a lot of people who can't or don't want to do conventions, then if you know an author who has read your stuff and doesn't mind vouching for you, then you can ask for a reference. I'm not sure. You can always say, actually, no, you don't ask them for a reference. You mention that you know them in the cover letter and tell them that if they want to contact this person, they can. But I did that with my first hunt, and that didn't get me anything except for an angry call from Cory Doctorow's agent, who I did not know was his agent, basically accusing me of dropping Cory's name and not knowing him, and him telling me that he could call Cory right now and find out if Cory knew me. And I'm like, okay, you can do that. That's fine.
I don't mean to laugh, but that's fucking funny.
Oh, it is fucking funny now. Still,
I'm sure it wasn't at the time, but like it's hilarious as a story.
Yeah. His rage was what got me. I'm just like, why are you so angry, dude?
How dare you, Mark?
Exactly. Tell the author that you're going to be mentioning them in the cover letter, because I had cleared it with Corey. If you know an author, you can be talking to them about your agent hunt. I would like to think that if the author thought you'd be a good match with their agent, they would offer to introduce you or vouch for you. But asking someone to introduce you to their agent, you should sign this person, not in a, hey, we're at a con, you want to meet my agent? She's over here, that kind of thing.
Right.
It's awkward because there's so many reasons why an author would not want to. One, they don't think you're ready and they don't feel like they want to be your mentor and tell you that. Two, they recently recommended someone to their agent and their agent hated them and they're pretty sure that their agent's not going to enjoy anybody they mention to them anytime soon. Or three, maybe they're going to leave their agent and, they're going through their own issues right now with that tender issue, and encouraging you to get involved with them would just be weird on a number of levels. Or maybe they don't want to recommend the agent to you, but they don't want to be slandering them, or slander's not true, but just talking shit about them, I should say.
Right.
So you asked about timeline and I got off on a big tangent.
No, all this is useful information.
Yeah, it's always query your dream agents first.
Yeah, that dream thing. That was one I wanted to address, and I agree with that. Like the agents you are trying, like if you are ready to sign with an agent, that agent should be on your list of dream agents. It shouldn't be like, well, you got a crappy one willing to represent you. I'll go see if I can leverage that against my dream agents.
Yeah,
because for one, that's not going to work. By the way, like like an agent who didn't want to represent you before isn't going to suddenly want to represent you because you've got a mediocre agent interested in you. I'll just say that right now. But yeah, the dream agents should be the ones you are querying. It should be the ones that you want to work with, so that when one agrees to work with you, you've got your dream agent. And
yeah.
I also wouldn't. I just feel like it's a really bad. This has never would have occurred to me. I also feel like it's a real bad idea to have an agent who's like, yeah, I really want to take you on. I like the book. I think we can do exciting things. And you're like, cool. Can I have a couple of weeks to see if somebody better than you would say that to me? Like, I just feel like that's a bad thing to do. Like, you don't want to put yourself or them in that position.
Yeah, but you do want to. I mean, if you do have queries out to other agents, you will need some time to say, I need to let people know that I have an offer. And then you tell them you'll let them know in like 3 days. And then
yeah, but that's not the same situation. Like saying, I have queries out there, I need time to wrap them up. That's one thing.
Yeah, but we're talking about the same thing, just different words.
Right.
Just make sure you make it sound professional.
Yeah, that's totally fair.
You can say that there are a number of people who would be a dream agent that you would work with. And it's wonderful that Agent X has shown interest in you, but you need to tell Y and Z. If anything, they can stop doing the work to consider signing you because you're already going to sign with somebody else, or they need to make their decision quickly.
No, I totally agree with that. Then that's the way you should couch it if you're going to do something like that. I just the way the question was phrased, it sounds to me like, yeah, I just wouldn't do the thing. Don't do the thing I said. Do the thing Mark said. Is all I'm saying. Don't tell the agent now that you said yes, I need to go see if other people would rather represent me instead. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. No, that's fair.
I think so. I don't know. The other thing I would offer about that is don't be afraid. First of all, really thorough. Anytime you're offered an agreement or a contract for anything relating to your writing career, you should obviously go through it thoroughly and have someone who knows more than you go through it thoroughly. I happen to be married to an attorney, so I'm lucky in that vein. But the other thing I wanted to add to that is with when you sign an agreement with an agent, I encourage you to not only go through it thoroughly, but feel free to ask questions about the points in that agreement. Don't just take it as boilerplate, even if they tell you this is a boilerplate agent agreement. You always want to go through, and anything that sticks out to you or whoever you have read it, don't be afraid to go, hey, man, what about this point here? This doesn't make sense to me. Can you please explain it?
Yeah.
And if the explanation doesn't make sense to you, feel free to say, well, I would like that. I'd like the wording changed here. I'm not comfortable with this. Like, you should feel free to do that when you're offered an agreement. And I think that's a really good point to make, because so many authors are just so jazzed that an agent wants to represent them. They're just eager to just sign the thing and get it locked down. But this is a really important decision that you're making.
It really is.
It's hugely, and Mern, we can both attest this. We've been around the block. We've both been doing this for over a decade. We've gone through multiple agents, and I can just say definitively, it's one of the most, if not the most important choice you'll make at that point in your career. Because they're going to be representing you. They're going to be shaping your career in a lot of ways. So it needs to be the right person. It needs to be the right fit. You need to feel right about it. You need to remember that you are not their employee. That's another thing that I try to stress to authors. Because, again, you can feel very beholden to an agent for being willing to represent you. Because that, again, is such a goal for a long time. It's like, I'm going to get a real fancy literary agent from that there New York City. And then I'll be whatever. You got to remember that they're working for you. That doesn't mean treat them like an intern. Don't even treat them badly and boss them around. I feel it. The way I approach it really with my agents, I feel like it's a partnership, and I look at it that way. We are partnering together to try to produce the best work possible and go out and get the best deal for both of us. And I think that's a good way to approach it. But don't ever feel beholden or like you're your agent's employee. And if they're making you feel that way, that's a problem.
That's a red flag.
And it's a red flag, and you'll feel that really early on. All the first impressions are really important. You want to have conversations with the agent that you have. I sat with Dongwon Song, who is my agent now. We sat in a bar for a goodly while and had some drinks and really talked and get to know each other. And this was after we had exchanged a lot of emails and a lot of correspondence over the course of several weeks. And we took the time to kind of get to know each other and get to know each other's work and process of personalities. And I asked him all the questions. I wanted to get a sense of how hands-on he was. That's another thing. Not everybody's comfortable with the same level of attention from their agent in terms of their work. Not everybody wants an agent who is also a really thorough editor, is going to have strong opinions about your stuff. Then that's a totally individualistic thing. I don't think there's a right or wrong answer to that. It's what you're comfortable with. So all of those things are really important. Like, I really take the time to ask as many questions as you want of your agent. Really take the time to kind of get to know them as much as you can, and don't be afraid to poke holes in the agreement and make sure you're really comfortable with what you're agreeing to. All of those things, very, very important. And doing that kind of work ahead of time is going to save you so many headaches in the future if you really take the time to do all that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So all of those things. Was there anything else I wanted to hit upon there? No, I think that I feel like that was pretty thorough.
Yeah.
That all makes sense, Mern?
Works for me.
I like it. So that's a basic overview of agents. We've done episodes about agents before. I'm sure we will do episodes about agents again in the future. But I hope Zachary that you took some value from that. Is there anything else you wanted to add to the answer to that question? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to.
No, I'm good.
Cool. So Zachary, I hope you found some value in that. Thank you again for the ham shackle emojis. That made my day. Moving on, Cameron Matthews at Truck Poetry also used the District's hashtag. Thank you, Cameron. Probably more for Mighty Murr. Differences in fiction and non-fic experience and process. I've written non-fiction.
You sound so injured.
I know, right? No,
I don't know if I've ever heard you sound that sad.
It's fair. So Cameron wants to know about the differences in fiction and nonfiction experience and process.
I found that fiction is so much harder than nonfiction because, at least in the nonfiction that I've written, it was stuff I was already an expert on. And so, there was a little bit of research to do, but mostly it was just writing down stuff I already knew. Whereas in fiction, there's the process of narrative and making sure that your first chapter leads off and ends with your last chapter. It's not that I prefer doing nonfiction. It's just last year when I was doing 6 Wakes, I was working very hard, and I thought, oh God, now I should be writing, and I'm worried about burnout or whatever, and that book just flew by because I was essentially writing down the things I'd been saying for 10 years. Right. And so the content was there. It just needed to be written down. While, since I don't outline, my stories are not fully formed in my head and just need to be written down. I much prefer fiction. I enjoy creating narrative much more than just writing nonfiction, especially since I've already written books on 2 things that I feel that I know a lot about, which is podcasting and writing, and so I'm pretty much done. So it's I think the nonfiction goes a lot faster for me, but I much prefer the fiction. And I've had fiction earn out while I've never had nonfiction earn out. So that's interesting.
I was going to ask about the kind of the business side of that, like the difference in the deals between Cameron. You hurt my feelings deeply, but you made a fair point. I've never made any kind of big nonfiction deal or anything. So I was going to ask about the difference in kind of the deal making and the business side of it. Have you experienced a big difference in those things, like when it came time to make the deal?
Not really. The first time I didn't have an agent, and the second time I did, and I think the advances were the same both times. Just the first one I had to split with my co-author.
Interesting.
The advances were not huge, but I heard they were pretty industry standard. They were fat 4 figures.
Fat 4 figures.
Yeah, baby.
It's gonna be our clipping tribute band. Fat 4 fingers. Also, you said chronologically correct earlier, and I thought that should be like a time traveling hip hop band.
Chronologically correct?
Yeah, that would be the name of my time traveling hip hop band.
Okay.
Anyway, and while I'm saying things that have no relevance to anything, you know what I came across the other day?
Tell me.
A signed copy, Mur, of Geek Fu Action Grip by Mur Lafferty.
Wow.
Your essays from a dog's age ago.
Wow, that's old.
And so you have a long history with nonfiction. I guess it is kind of relevant because that's what made me think of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess so.
I remember being on that podcast, Mur, way back in the day when we were young. We're not kids anymore.
No, we're not.
Anyway, so that's. Do you have anything else to add to the nonfiction question?
I don't think so. Do you?
No, because he didn't ask me.
He said more for Mighty Mur, not only for Mighty Mur. Don't get your feelings hurt.
I have a lot of opinions, but Cameron, you can go to hell, frankly. No, Cameron, you're cool. In fact, you asked a bonus question, Cameron, and I will go ahead and do that. And bonus question: what do you do when you either don't have any new concepts or hate the ones you have? Feel like I have hit a wall on the brainstorming front. Again, that is a craft question, but I'm going to let it go, even though this is a business podcast. Sorry, it's just a pet peeve of mine.
I don't know. I disagree that it's a craft question. I mean, if you wake up and you've got a deadline and you hate everything you got to do, how do you move forward?
Yeah, but he didn't phrase it that way.
All right.
You are never on my side.
We're good cop, bad cop, and I'm often on your side.
You are. You really are. No, it is a perfectly valid question, and when your business depends on coming up with new ideas, obviously it relates to business. I don't know, man. I would, if the way you phrase the question, Cameron, my best advice would be to take a step back because I think you're trying too hard at that point. Like you're racking your brain, and then it's like a quicksand thing where you're like, ah, shit, I can't come up with any good new ideas that I like. So you try really hard to come up with a good new idea that you like, and the more you try, the less you're able to do it. You know, it's like a self-fulfilling Ouroboros eating its own tail thing. I would take a break on trying to come up with ideas, and I would just like go out and experience life. Because that's when I'm out in the world, that's when shit will just occur to me.
Yeah.
You know? When I'll see something or hear something or experience something, and it'll click in my brain and go, oh, that would make a good, really good story. The other thing I would suggest is read as much human interest type news as you can, because I get a lot of ideas from there too. You know, like not like big news headlines, because you can drown in that shit. I specifically mean like the more obscure human interest kind of stories about people from different places, you know, and things that you wouldn't ordinarily hear about. I get a lot of ideas reading that kind of news as well. That can be a good source for inspiration.
Mm-hmm.
But my main note would be just take a break from trying to come up with stuff and just like let it go for a while. Let yourself recharge and let yourself just be exposed to the outside world, and something will happen, because you have a writer's brain, and your writer's brain is always looking for something new. So just let it do its thing without like forcing it to.
That's some straight up wisdom right there.
I was pretty happy about that.
Yeah,
So-
I agree. And I think we talked about this in a previous episode. It's hard to say because we recorded a previous episode like months ago. But the thing about, there's so many lessons you got to learn. And even though people will tell you, you may not think they work for you, but they will. You just have to just try to learn it from advice and not fucking up. But it's like, wait for an agent who you click with. And if you have any doubts, then maybe listen to those doubts. And specifically here, what Matt says is true, but it's something I've always railed against, because it's really, really, it goes against all logic to say that the way to fix this problem is to step away from the problem, turn your back on the problem, and go for a walk or go for a drive. Go for something that uses your body and your brain just kind of goes into neutral setting, and you just let it relax and wander wherever it wants to. But I gotta tell you, when I'm driving or walking or running and just not thinking about anything is when I will either come up with a new idea or solve a problem in existing work or whatever. But this is advice I've heard time and time again, but I didn't listen. And I wasted a lot of time banging my head on my desk trying to figure out, if I just bang my head harder, I'll figure it out. I'll do it.
Because you're a rebel, Murray, and you'll never be any good.
That's right. That's all I got.
I think we have time for one more question. What do you think?
Yeah.
Okay, so from Gregory Pilecki at One Game Dad. Hi, Ditch Diggers, and he used the hashtag. Thank you, Greg. When you have the opportunity to start a new project, what makes you choose to do something in your wheelhouse or something new? Say teasing a new genre, a new medium, etc. So when you start a new project, what makes you decide to either do something in your wheelhouse or conversely to do something entirely new to you? Is his question.
Well, if it's a business question, it's what people are paying me for.
Yeah, there is that. But that, you know, when money's involved, money tends to clarify things immensely, at least on that front. Not that it doesn't raise a bunch of its own problems, but if someone is like, I'll pay you to do this, that makes the decision really fucking easy.
Yeah, Six Wakes was not a book I'd planned on writing. I wrote a number of story ideas and like chapter 1, and and Six Wakes was my last idea. All right, I'll throw a science fiction thing in there. They went for the one that I had not planned on doing at all. And it turned out pretty great. Sure. But it was not the one that I had planned to do. I'm sorry about the barking and the distractions. Somebody came to the door and the dogs are freaking. I'm saying this for the use of the listeners, but yeah, do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I actually would. I'll share a story, a recent experience of mine that I think relates to this, just to kind of add some added context or a different angle to it. And I may have talked about this on the podcast before, but this, again, it's relevant to this question. So last year, my agent put me up for a job writing a middle grade novel for a new company that was, they were basically trying to come up with properties and ideas that they could pay writers to turn into books that they would then turn into movies. And they had an idea. I don't think I can actually say what the idea was, but it doesn't matter. So they had a concept, and then they were hiring writers to come and make novels out of it. Original concepts, not based on other properties. And in the course of pursuing this job, I did a number of summaries and pitches, and I did a bunch of sample chapters for my take on the book. And though they praised them mightily, I did not end up getting the job, which I'm still kind of baffled by, because I actually thought I did a really good job. And my agent actually agreed that I had done a really good job in these chapters. In fact, he was kind of shocked, I think, by how well my voice suited a middle grader writing for kids. So he suggested, screw this company that didn't want my services, I should come up with my own middle grade idea and write the book, and then he would go sell it for a bunch of money, and we would have our vicarious revenge on these people who dared not to hire me. And that was something I never considered doing at all. I never considered writing a book. I thought about maybe doing some YA, but a middle grade book for a younger audience like that, until someone offered me a chance to do a gig, and the gig I was really only going to do for the money. I had never thought about doing something like that because I didn't think it was something I would do well, because my stuff is usually so foul-mouthed and violent and adult. But my agent was right. My voice actually, when I got into the headspace and I thought about the audience and I thought about telling a story to that audience, my voice actually worked really well for it. I agreed. And I had an idea for a middle grade book that I would like to write about kids, for kids, and so I did that, and I just finished the first draft of it a while ago, and he's going to take it out and try to sell it. So that was an instance of something that was not at all in my wheelhouse that we decided to try because we just thought I would be good at it, and he thought it was something that he could take out and sell because I would be good at it. So there's a story that kind of that I hope sort of answers a piece of that question for you, Greg. But good luck in your own endeavors, whether you choose something in your wheelhouse or not.
Right.
And that's all the questions that we have. Thanks to everybody who sent us a question. Thanks to everybody who used the Ditch Diggers hashtag. That's always helpful.
Awesome.
And I feel like that's an episode, Mer.
That is an episode. We need to do another feedback episode just for emails, but we can do that next time. And it's not going to be another several months. I'm just going to tell you that right now.
Absolutely not. We are a Hugo award-winning podcast, damn it, and we are going to build on that momentum. We're not going to flame out. Because I want to win 2 years in a row. I want to win 2 Hugos.
That would be amazing.
We'll just see. Then we can recuse ourselves to give the young up-and-comers a chance, which will basically be like retiring undefeated, which makes me happy.
Except we started out defeated.
Yeah, but then we weren't defeated 2 years in a row. And that's
I
all
see.
Yeah. Had to bring that up, didn't you?
You were incorrect.
All right, so shall we do the customary end of the show shilling, Mer?
Yes. You can see the blog and show notes. I'm unhappy with the blog. I need a website redesign that I'm happy with, son of a bitch, at merverse.com. And
that's not the web address.
Yes, a very long web address.
I need a new website, son of a bitch. So
yeah.
Merverse.com. It's just merverse.com.
Yes. And where you can see links to my books, which include the many award-nominated Six Wakes, the nonfiction book I should be writing, and the newly released Solo, a Star Wars story. And you can see links to my other podcast I should be writing. And I also edit a Hugo Award-nominated magazine called Escape Pod, and it's free audio every week. And Jesus, I'm sure there's something else. It's hard to keep up. It's hard to keep up with all the hats I wear, but that's enough hats.
I was going to say, you wear many hats. Some of them have feathers in them. That's all good stuff. I do things too, Mer.
Do you?
In fact, one of them is called Sin du Jour, The Final Course. It's a Kindle omnibus of my last 4 Sin du Jour books, and that is coming out on October 23rd. So if you'd like to go pre-order that for the Kindle, you'll get the last 4 Sin du Jour books that I did at a greatly reduced rate than if you were to buy them all separately. So that's a pretty good deal.
Fancy.
If you're not up to date on my Sin du Jour series, go back and start with book 1, Envy of Angels. All 7 books in the series. The whole story's been told. They're all out now. You can go out right now and binge read the whole thing, and it's amazing. And not for nothing, but it will be eligible for Best Series next year.
It will be.
I'll just throw that out there. Rancor, Life in Grudge City is my other novella series. You can go pick up the first book in that series right now on Amazon in print and Kindle from Parts Unknown Publishing. And I also do YouTube, Mur. I do the YouTubes. I don't know if you knew that or not.
I do know you do the YouTubes.
I have a channel called Angry Writer, and I do a weekly vlog that I actually enjoy a lot, and I think it's come a long way in the last 8 months. We just passed 500 subscribers, which makes me very happy, and I would like to get on our way to our first 1,000. So if you want to come over and check that out, we're having a lot of fun there. I talk a lot about writing and my life, and I give away a bunch of swag and books every month, so you can win free stuff. It's just a good time. So yeah, come check out Angry Writer, and maybe consider subscribing.
Yeah.
Oh, and you can find me on the Twitters at Matt F. N. Wallace and my website at matt-wallace.com.
That's right. I'm also on the Twitters at Mighty Mur. And you know what? I need to talk about wanting to do my own video, but we should talk about that at a future show.
We should. We absolutely should.
So we'll see you next time. Thanks for hanging out with us, even though we were quiet for a while, but we'll be better in the future, right, Matt?
We're back, Mur.
We're back, and we're bad. You can support us at patreon.com/mightymur.
Ditch Diggers!
Theme song by Devo Spice. DevoSpice.com.